Hi there, Cancer. Thank you for joining me for your year 2017 forecast and welcome to the new year. The structural planet, which is Saturn, continues through till the third week of December in your sector of life organisation, and anything to do with health, fitness, diet, routines and work can be an area that you still need to continue to persevere at. But Saturn forges some awesome links at the start of this year, not least to Uranus, the planet of change, which the two are linking up for the first 6 months of this year. So don't be surprised if the opportunity to be more flexible or to work your way into a new field as far as your employment situation is concerned, it does develop for you. Saturn also forges a fine link with Jupiter, another structural influence. Jupiter is all about our sense of belief, our faith, our optimism, our sense of how things are growing in our life. And for you, it's in your sector of emotions, family life, and where you live through to the 10th of October. But it's cooperating supremely with Saturn in the first couple of months of this year. So if there are things that you're wanting to change at the heart of your existence, this is a very good portent. However, Jupiter is in opposition with Uranus in the first 2 months of the year. This is trickier. If you think about it, Uranus is about the unexpected. It's also about our need for freedom and independence. And for you, over the last 4 or 5 years, this has been very strong in terms of how you link with the wider world. It may have made it more difficult for you to fit into bigger organisations. You may have wanted to develop and demonstrate a more independent and freedom-loving type of lifestyle. But its opposition with Jupiter suggests that if doing as you wish in terms of your worldly interaction does sacrifice in some way your home needs or personal or emotional situation, it's something you may need to start to work at a little harder. It's also possible that someone around you is going to be springing some surprises on you. But if you are looking to move up the property ladder, there is a cautionary note with this particular aspect. Although a chance may come up that you feel is too good to turn down, it may be best to be just a little bit more on the side of cautious when it comes to any form of investment or risk-taking, certainly around large sums of money. But also at the turn of the year, Venus, the planet of love and relating, is in a very deep and passionate part of your scope, suggesting the meaning of your interactions with others are just as important as the dialogue that takes place. But with Mercury tracking backwards at the start of this year, I do feel it's going to be very important throughout 2017 to think very carefully about how you do come across to other people. And the more you can work at this area, the more growth there is going to be for you. Because with Mars and Neptune cooperating with the Sun, if you can develop a more open approach to the type of people that you can connect with, all sorts of wonderful developments and surprises can really emerge throughout the year for you. And then on the 26th of January, Mars thrusts its way to the top of your scope, giving you greater confidence, presence, and authority, and definitely a greater desire to see your goals reach actuality. But it's the lunar eclipse, which occurs on the 11th of February, which is going to link into this so supportively. This occurs in your second solar house, which is all about everyday resources, but it's dissecting that opposition between Uranus and Jupiter, providing you're prepared to make the sacrifices and you could be flexible in your approach to your career. A big opportunity could come up in the following 6 months, but it may challenge how things have been until now. So if you're in something of a routine, you've got to be prepared to jump out of that to really seize this opportunity, I feel. The solar eclipse, which occurs on the 21st of February, is quite fascinating. This occurs in Pisces. If this rings a bell, it's because the lunar eclipse, which occurred last September, was in this location too, and that combined with Neptune If you remember at the start of this broadcast, Mars was combining with Neptune, also in Pisces, giving you that appetite for knowledge and for inquisitiveness, which is going to go throughout the whole of this year. But with the Sun combining with Neptune as it does on this solar eclipse, your imagination is going to be absolutely awesome. But eclipses work in pairs. So we have a second and ninth house axis for you. And there are some challenges with that, because it can lead towards a certain amount of extravagance and feeling that you will spend money at will without necessarily being grounded in the reality, which is a bit counter how you often are, because you're one of the best managers of resources in the zodiac. So if you do find yourself in the next 6 months wanting to just go out and splash money, particularly on travel, higher education, learning new subjects, then this is probably why. And you may just have to throttle back a little bit on some of that. Now on the 6th of April, Saturn goes into a retrograde. But in the first 6 months of this year, Saturn continues to forge an amazing link with Uranus. Now, Uranus is about change, Saturn is about permanence, but of course what Saturn does is break down the structures which are no longer relevant. And for you, because it's in your 6th solar house, anything to do with everyday structures, and that's to do with obligations and responsibilities to others, well, that could be an area which is felt to you to be quite daunting and restrictive over the last couple of years. But in this angle to Uranus, it's kind of saying to you in the first 6 months of this year that if you are prepared to just be a little bit more fluid and just swing with things, then all sorts of opportunities can gradually and progressively unfold for you. So you can be open to the new and preserve the good parts of what's existing in your world. But despite this, Saturn does go retrograde, and this is going to be retrograde through to the 26th of August. And if you do find your energy dips down during this period, it wouldn't be an entire surprise. The great news is it's not going to be clashing with Neptune for the long months that it did last year, from mid-May to pretty well mid-October, which was an incredibly draining influence for us all. Fortunately this time, Saturn's just asking you to get even more organised, to take your health, be it psychological, spiritual or emotional, more seriously, to make sure also that you're doing a job that gives you a sense of personal satisfaction. If it's just a slog and it's just for the money, try to find something else which is more pleasing through this period. Now from mid-July through to mid-August, well, we have a right angle between Jupiter and Pluto. This does require a great deal of care, because it's possible that as Pluto has been working its way through your sector of relating over the last 7 years, that you have aroused opposition due to the might which comes from Pluto. This is the most powerful influence that there is in the zodiac apart from the Sun. Pluto may be said by some to not be a planet. Believe me, its influence is absolutely manifest. And its right angle with Jupiter suggests that around any close relationship, the politics of this situation may need to be looked at again, and need to be looked at in a very honest way during this month's span. However, also in August and September, we get a revision of the great link between Jupiter and Saturn. So if you are wanting to refresh some elements of your existence, and perhaps even some Cancerians may be thinking of working from home, then August and September can be the times that you're considering that. But August also sees 2 eclipses. Now on the 7th we have a lunar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius, but this forges a fine link also with Jupiter. Jupiter being about where you live, how you live there, and who with, whereas the lunar eclipse is more about property, shared resources, and so on. Maybe something around this area does need looking at in the second 6 months of this year. Clarification is going to come for you from the 21st, when there is a solar eclipse in your sector of resources. So you're getting some catch up here, and this is going to help you to think again about whether you've got things under control when it comes to your resources. And in the second half of the year, I also feel that the flare that comes from Leo energy in your second solar house can see you being very entrepreneurial if you're that way inclined. And once Jupiter moves on the 11th of October, it's a chance for you to demonstrate just how much your mind, your ideas, your imagination, your passion, your humour can dazzle those people that you encounter. So that's going to light up the back end of this year. But there is one big proviso to all of this, Cancer, and that is the first 2 weeks of December, because ironically, Mercury is in retrograde once more. And remember, at the start of this, Mercury was in retrograde. So relationships have required care at the start of this year, but it's going to be around the most precise areas of life that it combines with Saturn in the first 2 weeks of December. And I think your nervous system, your energy generally, can be very tender during this time, and you do need to take it carefully. However, again, the more that you've practiced on the organisational elements of Saturn, the more he will support you to evolve things in a productive way. But if you're just push, and not giving yourself the space to recuperate, then that's when December could be a little difficult. But then on the 20th of December, Saturn relocates. For the next 2.5 years, it's going to be in its home zone of Capricorn. But for you, that is about relationships. And relationships is really what has been stirred by the evolutionary powers of Pluto over the last 7 years. So a new challenge emerges at the end of this year when you will need to take your relationships far more seriously, but it's also an opportunity to meet someone who's really profound and meaningful, or to make the most of the relationships you already have in your world. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Please note that you can watch my weekly horoscope forecast for your sign and my monthly horoscope forecast for your sign every week on YouTube and my other channels throughout the year. Thank you, good luck, and goodbye for now.